And we want to share a few reflections as this is the Jewish Disabilities Awareness Month. We are so glad that so many of you were able to participate in the events and the learnings of this last week. And if you want to see the beautiful service led by Rabbi Adar and Kendra Keys from last Friday, or the presentation by Judith Human, which was amazing, they're both on our Vimeo site. So please do take a look at those if you were not able to join us last week. These conversations have brought up an important piece that we also need to consider differently. And that's the fact that our prayer services have so many places where the tradition is to stand. And we want to take that into account, of course, that not everyone can stand, not everyone should stand in order to participate. But of course, we want to ensure and recognize that everybody who is here in the sacred space is a full participant. So we can ask, what was the point of standing as a part of the prayer service? We usually think of standing as a kind of a punctuation at the beginning of a part of the prayer service that is going to have a slightly different focus. So for instance, we stand before the Barfu because it differentiates the Kabbalah section of the service, the Kabbalah Shabbat section singing of the service, to the next section, which is known as the Shema and its blessings. The Reform movement also ensured that we stand at parts of the service that were deemed particularly important. So for instance, many communities sit for the Shema, but you'll find in many Reform communities, because it is the watchword of our faith, that we at least tend to stand for the Shema. So standing is both to recognize a shift in focus, which is done physically, and it is to enable us to express what we find to be very important. But of course, it doesn't have to be standing. There are lots of ways we can physically shift to represent that there is a shift in focus. We can turn our heads, we can close our eyes, cover our eyes, we can bring our hands to our hearts, we can raise our hands. There's lots of ways to capture the spirit of the tradition. And likewise, there are lots of ways that we emphasize certain prayers. And that could be done physically, or it could be done quietly within ourselves as well. So we're hoping as a community to be able to experiment for a bit as to what it might feel like for each of us as individuals to think of this a little bit differently. What feels right to signal both the shift in the focus and the emphasis. So tonight, instead of our usual signal, our usual command, which we often say is right, that we rise for something, that we're going to try our spirits rise. And then when, instead of please be seated, we return to our repose. So that you can stand when you hear that, if that feels what is most appropriate or what is traditional for you, or you can shift in another way. And when we are all in our homes, I'm hoping it will feel comfortable to figure out what works best for everyone. And when we're able to come together again in person, we'll have some experience with it and can continue to explore what it means as a community. And I also want to ask your forgiveness and your patience. Asking people in the community to sit and to stand is something that comes very, very, very naturally to me. And so I'm learning and rewiring parts of my brain as well. And so we'll work on this together and we'll learn together.